Check, good. So I'm Max Ceron. Max Ceron, CWB Association Welding Podcast. Podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, Welding Podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron and I'm here with you again for another incredible show. And I'm going to say incredible because of the incredible people on the show. Today we have Stephanie Hoffman. You may have heard of her. She has been around on all sorts of crazy media. And well, I got to meet her last year at FabTech, which was a blast. Stephanie, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
For sure. I'm excited too. I'll never forget when I first saw you because you are kind of known in the welding circles, but my staff, Daniela, Think Pink Welding, she's a super huge fan of yours. And we were at a FabTech mixer and she was like, "Oh my God, Stephanie's here." And she I lost her. I didn't see her for an hour. And I was oh. And she was just so into it. And I thought that was super cute. And that's a beautiful thing about the welding community. Those things are good, right?
Yeah.
And it's good for women to have, other women to emulate and to look up to. But then I remember when I first finally got to talk to you for real, we were it was the last day of FabTech, and I had been trying to get in to talk to the AWS people for all week, and I hadn't been able to get in. And then you just showed up and were like, "Hey, do you want to meet the people from AWS?" I was like, "Yes, yes, I do." Stephanie saves the day.
Yeah, and I took you up to some crazy penthouse.
Yeah, we went up to some
I hate
crazy.
saying that, but
and Jason was with us, and we went up and we had some drinks. I had some awesome conversation.
Yeah, you got to meet Monica and Gary and all that.
Yeah, and they're my counterparts for CWB to AWS. So basically, we're in the same jobs, just different countries, and it was really, really good to do that. So thank you for giving that opportunity.
Yeah. My pals are your pals now.
Now, for the people that are listening, you may have seen Stephanie on her, she was on Metal Shop Masters. She's done tons of fab work, instructional videos. She does teaching and tours for AWS. But what maybe a lot of people don't know about who you are, Stephanie. So let's start at the beginning. Where were you born? What's your stomping grounds?
I am from the Jersey Shore. It's not like the TV show, I promise. It's a lot of fun, but not the TV show. I kind of I'm a big punk rock kid, so grew up kind of always going to shows in New York City, Asbury Park, Philadelphia, super into music. Play a bunch of different instruments, not well, but I play them. Yeah, I don't know, and just kind of got into welding pretty young and stuck with welding, kind of liked it. It wasn't super okay for me to be a welder back then, but that was 22 or so years ago now. Sounds weird to say that, but it's been
let's go back. Let's go back in time because your music is a big part of who you are. I know it's still to this day a big part of who you are, and your area. And for I'm a metalhead punk guy. The area that you come from might be known for the Snookies and the Jersey Shore stuff like that, but really there's awesome bands that come out of your area. There's some very, very good bands that come out of your area for both the rock, metal, and punk scene.
Mm-hmm.
So were you a part of that? Did you get to know those people growing up?
Yeah, I would say a good bit of them are my pals, actually. I've even done a lot of custom work for them and stuff. So Brian Keeneland, bass player from Bouncing Souls. I've done stuff for his tattoo shop, and they've all become kind of part of my family. It's funny because I have a daughter. She just turned 13, but she's been going to punk rock shows since she was super tiny.
Mm-hmm.
Her first mosh pit was she was at I forget what it is, punk rock bowling, when they still did it in Asbury, not just exclusively Las Vegas. And she went, and it was Rocket from the Crypt was playing, and everybody at there knew who I was, and they knew this was my daughter, so security made sure she was okay. And then, all these people are my friends in a lot of these bands. And she started getting spoiled rotten because she was used to going backstage, standing on stage, not having to worry about the crowds. And we'd go to shows that I didn't know somebody. She's like, why are we standing over here?
Why aren't we going into the back where the free water is?
She's like, there's too many people over here. yeah, this is where we're supposed to be, okay?
Yeah, this is the
Yeah.
normal place.
Yeah, I mean, I cried because like she's in a Bouncing Souls video. She's in the satellite video for the Bouncing Souls, and like she's up on stage singing with Greg, and oh my god, like
That is
there's
super cool.
I think she was, gosh, what was she, 7, 6, 7 years old on the the Stone Pony stage singing along with
Hmm.
Greg for the Bouncing Souls, which is like, if you don't know who the Bouncing Souls are, they're like probably one of the most iconic punk bands to come out of the East Coast and the Jersey Shore. So and then a lot of cool bands kind of followed suit. So
Yeah, I
you got
remember
like
after we
Brian Fallon
talked.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, we were talking
Yeah,
about that. And we were trying to think of other bands that came out of there. And like, I mean, Northeast US has some like even Minor Threat if you want to go way back to like 83,
yeah,
82.
yeah.
Like,
Murphy's Law
yeah,
is
like
from
you're
my
talking to some
town. Yeah.
old school punk bands,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's good times.
E-Town Concrete. I
and,
mean,
and
so much goodness.
and that's such a big part. Like, I mean, we were just joking before the show about Ivan and him playing guitar, and like music and welding kind of. It's like I don't really know too many welders that aren't into music of some
Yeah.
kind, that whether they're listening to their country music or their rock music or their pop music, or it's like that seed kind of comes from the same part of your brain or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just something that sparks creativity too. I think you can get inspired by music, and
Mhm.
whether you're just running like a straight, some type of like code style welding, and being able to put, your headphones on and just kind of get in the
In the
zone and kind of
zone.
tune
Yeah.
out and stuff and kind of just vibe it and, and
Yeah.
enjoy life a little bit while you're just rocking away doing some welds. Yeah, I think music is a common ground for just about everybody in every type of,
Hmm.
industry, but I think particularly the welding community, people really are fixated around, what they listen to in the shop and what they're, inspired by, what they like to work to. When I'm ready to get like super pumped, I got to put on like Motley Crue and
I was literally just gonna say something about Motley Crue. You wore a Motley Crue shirt in one of your Instagram posts, and I was like,
yeah,
second best album. I mean, we all have
yeah,
our favorite
yeah.
albums.
Yeah.
I, I got to roadie for Motley Crue because it was like they were coming through town and they needed some technical help with like stage setup, and there was like metal trusses and stuff, and I was like, hey,
Mhm.
I know how to do that stuff. And it was like, it's really weird. Like I know, like I'm a welder, but that knowledge allowed me to be a roadie for one of my favorite bands of all time. And it was
Mhm.
so cool because Tommy Lee's got like
Yeah.
the circle drum set, like
Yeah, his
the rails.
drums.
I got to put that together and help do that stuff. Plus, I had my forklift ticket, so I got to be like forklift driver for a few hours, pulling stuff out of the
That's
semi.
awesome.
And everyone's like working hard, and I'm just like fanboying the whole
Yeah.
time. Like it was
Oh
so
yeah.
much fun.
I know. I feel like that's like one of my dreams that people ask, like, if you could make something like a piece of furniture or something. I'd probably want to make something for like Nikki Six because like he's super into like art and photography and like
Hmm.
the beauty of things, and like he's recently gotten to like knife making and stuff. I
Hmm.
would love to make something for him, but if anybody knows him,
Hey, me too. Me too. Anyone listening? I've been kind of being that. I'm sure he's never even noticed me, but his Twitter, he does a thing called Ask Six, and he
Mhm,
asks questions. My Instagram is Ask Max. So I
mhm.
was like, "Hey, Nikki, would you come on my podcast to talk about how the trades and music go together? Because they do." And I know his family has got tradespeople in it, and he's really into these cool things. And I was like, maybe that would be a great podcast.
Yeah,
He's never replied. So.
yeah. You want to hear something crazy? Who like reached out to me after the show?
Ooh.
Ted Nugent's wife.
What? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna make?
Nothing. It was just like craziness. Like,
Are you
I
gonna
guess
make a
Ted is like getting into welding and like wants to learn how to weld, and they watched the show, and the only thing she wanted to know was how I got on, like how did the Netflix show come about, and because she's
oh
trying to get something pitched for Netflix, so it was nothing, but
oh
but it
I
was
was like,
still
are you
really
gonna make a
cool.
gun guitar or something? Like,
No, I wish, but um, but yeah, she didn't really want anything from me, but some information. But still, it was still really cool to know that they watched it, or even maybe an episode or two. But yeah.
so how was your home life? And like, were you surrounded by music in your house?
Oh yeah,
Is
yeah.
that where it came from?
My
Like your mom or dad or?
my mom was like huge. I mean, I feel like I have such like a crazy, like, I don't know, like library of music in my
Mm-hmm.
life, like tastes and stuff, and just the amount of music I've been exposed to because of my mom, you know, like being
Hmm.
really young and going to like, you know, and listening to like Slash's Snake Pit after Guns N' Roses broke up and like Iggy Pop and David Bowie and you know, Eric Clapton and you know, Prince. Prince is like a huge inspiration to
And
me
one of
and
the
like
best
what like
guitarists of all time. Amazing.
unreal. Um, and
I got
like
to see
Culture
Prince
Club,
in
you know,
Minneapolis.
like I feel like my mom was bringing me to like Greenwich Village in New York City as like a young kid. Like I wasn't going and buying my clothes at like J.C. Penney. Like I'm going to the streets of New York City and going into these like super awesome, you know, grunge punk vintage stores and buying
Hmm.
like crap now that would be like hundreds of dollars, and back then I'm buying it for like $3 $4, you
Yeah,
know,
$5
and
rack.
oh yeah, and I would get ruthlessly made fun of when I was a kid because I thought I was gonna be like Gwen Stefani or something like that. I wanted like zippers on everything.
Hmm.
So silly. Like anything she did, I was like trying to emulate it until after Tragic Kingdom. Then I didn't care because she used to be like a ska chick, you know.
Yeah,
And
her
I was
and what's Bradley Norton, Bradley from Sublime. They were
yeah,
like BFFs. They grew up in Long Beach together.
yeah,
They were on each other's albums.
yeah.
It was
And
super
she
fly back then.
yeah, and I don't know what happened. Tragic
She
Kingdom
married Gavin.
was a tragedy. So after that album came out, but
After she married Gavin, it was all downhill.
hey, but I love Bush. I'm a huge Bush
Yeah,
fan. I mean,
but
I used to have
together,
his poster above my bed, and I would just like dream about him.
well, he
But
is beautiful. He is beautiful, but I don't know. They kind of killed their careers, I think, or something.
yeah, yeah, probably. But yeah, I mean, my mom was huge with me getting me into music and stuff, and yeah, she still is. Like, I just love like a couple of years ago, Culture Club was touring, and I took her to a show, and she loved it. I mean, she just had a freaking blast, and you know, and but then like
Hmm.
my dad, he was in the heavy construction industry, so I had like this like that's I think where it came from. I took a little bit from my mom and a little bit from my dad, and you know, kind of made me this very well-rounded person, I guess.
Oh, very well round. I wish I could say that about myself. I'm like an oblong circle.
Yeah.
Like so you know that kind of goes to the second question. You know, as a young girl, you got music and your dad's in the trades. Did you kind of envision yourself as a possible tradesperson? Like, let's say we're talking to grade eight Steph in grade
Yeah.
eight, and you know the counselors are like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Were you like, "I want to be a tradesperson like my dad," or "I want to be
Yeah.
Gwen Stefani," or kind of what were you thinking?
No, I wanted to be a welder. I was
Yeah,
just
right from
like,
the beginning.
oh yeah. I mean, my other option, I wanted to be a drill sergeant really and I went
Yeah.
into the army and stuff and I did all that thing and I ended up having my daughter and you know, my path changed
Mm-hmm.
goals. But yeah, I mean I started welding when I was yeah, late middle school, like eighth grade. I started like picking it up for the first time and uh kind of just stuck with it. But 22 years ago now, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but 22 years ago, being, you know, 4'11" and I was like this crazy, I had like this crazy black, I have dark jet black hair is my natural hair color, like very
Mm-hmm.
dark, like your hair color. And it's like all crazy spiked. I legitimately looked like you could like a Susie Q slash Robert Smith from The Cure. Like that was
Mm-hmm.
me. Like this crazy spiked hair and oh my gosh, I looked like a mess. But so like walking into weld shops, they were like, "What is this little freak show? Like, get out of here," you know? And yeah, they would. I mean, I would go into job interviews and stuff because I did not want to go and work like at like where my dad like work for people my dad knew or work for my
Mm-hmm.
dad or anything like that. I wanted to get away from that, and so trying to like make a name for myself, it wasn't super easy back then. It's
No.
definitely a lot easier now. I mean, yeah, I was like everything you can think of. I wanted to quit all the time. I was like, "Oh, I'll just quit and I'll just go be like nothing against hairdressers, but like I thought maybe
Mm-hmm.
I would go and be a hairdresser and like settle for that." And
Mm-hmm.
I just I just couldn't let like I'm too like competitive to I guess kind of, you know, after I'd get over myself here and then, you know, I think it was just difficult because so many places didn't want to hire me and it took
Yeah,
a
like
long time for
that
somebody. And then
self
it's
doubt creeps in, you know?
yeah, it starts like, well, is anybody actually ever going to give me a fair shake? And it finally happened. I mean, I would say it took like 8 years for people to actually like trust me and think that what I was doing was right. Even though by the time I was 17 years old, I had 6G certifications.
Hmm.
And I had a 6G anodized pipe one before my welding instructor even got his. Like,
So
I
the
was just
skill was
like, not
there. Yeah.
the skill was there, just the opportunities weren't always there. You know, it was the iron workers really wanted me to go and work for them, but I had no interest like going. I didn't want to
Road
work
work.
somewhere where I could like I iron workers. Your job when you're in the
You're
union
traveling
is
all the
like
time, and then you're
yeah,
laid
the
off, and then you're
traveling.
not
Yeah, the
sure.
traveling wasn't that bad of a thing for me, but like I think it was more feeling like I didn't want to do all aspects of the job and I didn't want to
Hmm.
be a burden or just look like an equal opportunity hire and like, people don't like people like that. So if I was going to do something, I wanted to be like extremely sure that I was able to do all aspects of it. I had
Hmm.
no interest in going up, 50 stories in the air at the time when I was in high school, I was like 98 pounds. I'm 4'11". I'm not trying to walk I-beams.
Hmm.
So, um, I ended up not doing that. I took the test and got my like all my plate certs and stuff, but
Hmm.
it just wasn't for me. And I like doing the pipe work better, so I started
Yeah,
pressure
I
vessels and
I did iron work
hydraulic
for a little
recapping. Yeah,
while. Yeah, I did iron work for
yeah,
a little while, and I enjoyed it. Like, I mean, it was neat and building structures and putting things up, and I'm not scared of heights or anything, so I was fine. But I it didn't resonate with me. Like, I didn't see
yeah,
myself, like, am I going to be doing this for 5 years, 10 years? Like, I
yeah,
was like, I'm not.
yeah,
It didn't really suit my game. But you got a couple things that make it difficult from an outsider. Like, number one, your height. When people think of welders, they think of, like, whether it's men or women, like these big, strong people, because you got to lift all this heavy steel, which is really not the
yeah.
truth anymore. Like, with modern
No,
equipment and machinery, like, you can do
and like
anything.
most places, you're not allowed to lift anything over 50 pounds.
That's right. So, like, I mean, it's like whatever, but it's still like this vision, or like the optics of, like, oh, you're
Yeah,
not big enough to be a welder. Like, when I started welding, I mean, I'm fat now, but when I was little, like, 18, 17, when I started welding, I was probably like 150 pounds, and I'm 5'6". So for a dude, well, for Chilean dudes, I'm a normal size, but for like North America, I'm like tiny compared to white guys. So it was always like, oh man. But then I got into pipe, and they were like, you can fit inside pipes. We can
oh
put
yeah,
you in pipes. And I was like, hey, yeah, I can do that. No problem.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's like, yeah,
Same
throw
thing
me
with
in.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why I like the pipe community so much because it was like they needed me. You know,
Yeah.
I
You
mean, I got
fit.
taken advantage of
Mhm.
because, like, every time, this guy next to me, he doesn't want to do anything. It's just like, Stephanie, I'll fit in there. I'm like, hey, we're all doing the same. We're all here together. Like, and I'm the only one working all day. But, you know, I still liked it. I enjoyed it a lot. And then got into the anodized pipe world, doing like stuff for yachts and everything. And I
Mhm.
really like that because that's like super clean work and it's
Yeah.
super specialized and not a lot of
Very
people can do
niche.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I like that, and I like the income potential, I guess,
Mhm.
with
Yeah.
being, a
Yeah.
more specialized TIG welder. So I did that for a long time, and then kind of fell into education on accident. So
Now, when you started welding, did you go to a trade school after high school? Like, what was your path, or did you just get out and get a job and just start training? How did
so
you
I
kind
went,
of get into it?
yeah. So my dad introduced me to it, and that's how I knew what welding was. And then in my freshman year in high school, they still had like metal shop and wood shop electives, so I took the metal shop elective. Um, in the high school setting, it was very like, kids were just taking it so they could like smoke cigarettes in the middle of the day and like,
Mhm. Mhm.
smoke up the
The vent. Yeah.
exhaust vents. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I wanted to weld. And I remember, I think I was in eighth grade or ninth grade. It was back when like juicy couture like tracksuits were big.
Yes.
And
I remember. I
I was wearing one of these
remember.
velour suits, and it caught on fire. And the kid, I'll never forget him. His name was Jim Hillert. If Jim's not watching this, so so Jim is just sitting there staring at me, and I could see this weird glow. I've never been on fire before, and definitely never been on fire and looking at it through a welding hood. So I had no idea what I was looking at.
Mhm.
I just see this crazy glow, and then a few like I don't know how long it was, a couple seconds, and it felt like forever though. He's like, "Oh, you're on fire," and I look, and the whole like, there's nothing left of this whole half of my velour tracksuit, and I was so bummed. But that was probably like the one only time that I was ever really on fire like that. But yeah, so I took it as an elective in high school for 2 years, and then went to go to get into the local vocational school for my junior and senior year, where you go like half the day type of thing.
Mhm.
And yeah, I was told that I wasn't allowed in.
What?
So my
Why?
yeah, again, it doesn't it seems like,
Because
we've
you're not
been so,
even
like,
old. Like,
progressive.
it's not that
No,
long ago. Yeah.
no, it's not. But, like, you would think, like, women in trades, this is like a relatively like new thing. Over the last, I would say 10 years, this push has kind of changed with this now new influx of needing trade skilled people. So now they'll take whoever they can get. And it's like, oh, thanks for the scraps, you know? But but back then it was like they were like, well, how are we going to handle this? And they're like, so it was better for them just telling me no. So my mom called them and was like, I think you want to rethink this, and
Mm-hmm.
basically was like, if you don't change your mind, you're going to hear not from me, but from an attorney. And so they changed their mind. And their big excuse was, well, there was no like facility for her to change her clothes into work clothes and stuff. Like they were coming up with they were just reaching. And imagine saying that now. Like
Oh my
imagine saying
God.
that nowadays.
You're fired.
Like, oh yeah, like the
Like
school would
you're
be like done.
Yeah.
Whoever the superintendent is, the principal, everybody's fired. Yeah, and it's crazy to think, and it wasn't that long ago. But yeah,
No.
so things have come definitely a long way. And it was funny because when I went into the program, I don't know what their expectations of me were, but
Mhm.
then there I am, a senior in high school, and I'm getting more technical skilled certifications than my actual welding instructor was even able to pass. Because there was
Mhm.
I was under such a microscope. It is
Yeah.
unfair, the
Like you had to
microscope that I was
prove
under.
it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was no I don't know if I'm on curse, but there was no like
Yeah.
effing, there was
You
no
can
fuck
curse.
ups
We'll
allowed
we'll
for
beep it
me.
if you want to swear. Go
Sorry.
on.
So there was no like screwing stuff up. It was
Mhm.
everything had to be perfect because if I did screw something up, they had a thing and it was called Stephanie's Wall of Shame. And they would all these kids, they would get on and half of it wasn't even mine. So they would get on each other's shoulders and tack it up to like the big I-beam rafters and stuff overhead. And of course I can't reach it. But they were pretty ruthless to me. They would do stuff like they didn't like that I was getting asked to do like the special jobs in the class and this and that. So it was me and this one kid, JC, and we were both probably the most like high speed kids in the program at the time.
Mhm.
And everybody was always they would be impressed by JC, but me, they just wanted to see how many ways they could like mess with me to screw me up, and get in my head. So they would turn my gas off all the time. They'd disconnect my ground. They'd turn the amperage up. They would, yeah, the one thing that they used to like do is they'd be like, oh, hey, can you come here for a minute? Can you hold this? And then I would hold something and then they would like ground it out somewhere and then I'll like zap the crap out of me.
That's
I mean,
harsh.
it was bad. I mean, oh gosh, like some of the stuff they would do. And it's funny, I mean, we're all like most of these kids, we're all friends now, and it's or they love to do the, oh my God, yeah, I remember when in high school, we're so proud of you. And it's like, wait a second,
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
like such an
yeah.
asshole to me.
Yeah, you're not proud. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's amazing how they come back around later,
yeah.
but you know what? Whatever. You move on. I mean,
Oh, those are
obviously
the
you
people too
have
that are
to.
always looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're always like, oh, you know any deals on welding equipment, or you got some hoods?
Do you know
Oh,
someone who's looking for work because I'm laid off for the ninth time this year? Oh, yeah,
yeah,
okay.
that's those people. But so like but I wouldn't change my experience for anything because if it wasn't for how like cruel and hard they were on me, I don't think one, I probably would have given up a long time ago with just other little bumps in the road. Like they
Hmm.
prepared me for all of the crap that like
They set like a high
typical life.
bar.
Yeah, typical life won't really prepare you for, being a woman in industry at that time, especially at that
Hmm.
time of your life where you're young, you're immature, you don't have that self-confidence yet. And when people are doubting you all the time, it's really hard to continue to want to move forward. So I think that they really sculpted me into being a much more like confident, woman in the industry, so I kind of thank them for that, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and anything that makes your skin tougher, like obviously I'm a dude, so I don't even understand that that angle for how difficult it is for women. I've seen guys be ranked to women, and I'm one of those guys with a big mouth, and I have to step in and be like, yo, 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 you can't do it. But I was
Yeah,
raised that way. Like I was just like, you just
yeah,
don't do that. My mom is like super like powerful woman. It's like
yeah.
I can't imagine saying no to my mom. Like you like, whoa, yo, check yourself, man. Like,
Yeah, and I don't think of myself like I don't. Oh gosh, I hate even talking about the difficulties that I had get coming up
hmm
in the industry because I hope that like women today, like I'm sure like yeah, there's a stigma still there, but like I like to think it's a lot better nowadays for them. Like I think that people are more open to the opportunities. I think social media has been huge
hmm
in opening up
hmm
opportunities, and for like people from all over the place to look and see and go, oh wait, they do know what they're doing. They are capable of doing these jobs. So I think it's come a long way. So I hate even like bringing it up and talking about it because I don't want anybody to ever think that I'm some like, whiny crybaby, like, bra burning, type chick, because that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm just, it's to me, it just was the way it was. And I had to do it if I wanted to be a welder. And that was just it. There was no complaining. There was no going to HR. There was no like, all the comments, just, I mean, I've worked places where they didn't even want to give me tools because they were afraid I was going to hurt myself. So I have to go and beg my coworkers for a freaking drill, like stupid stuff like that. And I could like hide from my foreman because he wasn't allowed to see me using a drill, So like, just like, I just hope that it's not like that these days. I mean, from what I hear, I mean, I know there's always those things, but from what I hear, it's definitely a lot
Yeah,
more
you,
open. And
you hope that things are better, but every now and then you'll hear a story that
yeah,
blows your mind. When I was teaching at
absolutely.
the college like 4 years ago, I sent these two, like we have a work term, and it was just like a special course where there's like a 2 week work term you go work on a site. And this company was like, yeah, we'll take a couple students. And there was a couple of girls that were friends, and I was like, well, this will work out perfect. I'll send them both together so that they're not so scared, and they'll give each
Yeah.
other a little bit of confidence together. And they're out there, and then they're like the third day in or the fourth day in, I get an email from one of them being like, can we maybe look at a different placement? And I was like, why? What's going on? They're like, well, they just got us cleaning bathrooms and offices. And I was
Oh
like,
man, yeah,
what?
that
Man,
sucks.
I was livid. I
Yeah,
was livid. I called up that owner. I was like, number one, you're never getting another student from this school again,
yeah,
ever. And I like,
yeah,
that is not cool, dude. Those kids are coming out. I pulled them back in and I sent them to another shop where I knew the owner. And I was like, man, give these girls some welding work. They're super good welders like that. And
yeah,
make their experience even double awesome. Take them out for, drinks with the guys, and make it
yeah.
fun.
Make them
Because
feel like they're
welding,
part of the
yeah,
family. Yeah,
exactly, because welding is a beautiful family once you're in, and it is
yeah,
a bit of an elite club. It is a little bit clicky sometimes, based on skill, based on your work, based on what you've
yeah,
done. There's a little bit of that, but once you're in, it's beautiful, and we all
yeah,
support each other as much as we can.
yeah. I like to think people like typically are pretty supportive. I think too, like I was kind of shocked, like when the Metal Shop Masters had come out, I thought, this is going to be so big for women in industry, right? Here's for the first time ever, here's a woman who knows what they're doing in the welding industry. There's other women featured on this program. Um, it's going to be global. This is going to be awesome.
Hmm.
We did like stupid millions and millions of views in the first 28 days of the show being released all across the globe. 193 countries, that's
Hmm.
kind of epic of something for the welding industry, right?
Hmm.
And here I was thinking that this was going to be such a positive thing, and I had no idea what I was in for when it came to the negativity still in most other countries. So I
Hmm.
think we're very, very fortunate to live in, the United States, Canada,
Hmm.
where it is okay for women to be doing these things, but there's still a lot of work to be done globally. That's for sure. And that it's a cultural thing too, and it probably will be another 100 years until we see any type of real change in these other countries. But I was like kind of stunned because I thought it was going to be this very positive thing, and then that was kind of a sucky thing when it's not so positive.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh
and it's a bit
god.
of a shock too, because I mean, as a person, you just try to focus on the positive, and like, I mean, like I'm running a part of the CWB. I am in charge of a lot of the social media and marketing stuff that goes out. Like my department, the association, or like the membership side, like members are my game. Like I basically
Yeah.
have to support my 65,000 members, and I push so much stuff out, and I'm always like, yeah, 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 let's do this. And we got all these projects. And then every now and then I'll ask like our media guys being like, okay, well, is there any negative responses? And they're like, oh yeah, we got like 65 pages of negative responses. And I'm like,
I feel like what?
oh, but we're just
Yeah.
trying to do good. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. How
and
can
they're
you
like,
be
well,
so
no,
mean?
yeah, like how are so many people out there just waiting to be mean? Like, what the heck? And
Yeah.
I've been like personally yelled at and called out on social media for like, being like overly helping this, or why am I doing that, or like I try to help with immigrants lots, and I've had a lot of immigrant hate being like, wow, we should be looking at helping inside the country first. It's like, yes, I get that. Yeah, like you're not wrong, but we also need to support people that are coming here because they got the
Yeah.
same dreams you do, dude. Like,
Yeah. It's it's wild. It's just wild, and that little bit of negativity really can like just ruin your day. It
Yeah,
sucks,
you
but
gotta not go down that rabbit
like,
hole.
yeah, because I'm like, oh gosh, like, and they get you sometimes. They like, they
Hmm.
start out the message, you're like, the show was awesome, and then you click on the message to read the rest of it, but you sucked. You're like, oh no, that took a turn. You were the worst thing that happened to that show. They need to fire you. I'm like, okay,
Oh,
all right, thanks.
so like let's go, like let's lay out this timeline, because like you got into welding, and obviously you got skill. You got into some higher end stuff that, okay, it's easy to talk about high end welding, but most people don't get the knack for it. And even if people talk big, it's hard to do. You know what I mean? Like, you really got to watch procedure. There's a bazillion, you know, parameters that you got to watch to get into the high end steel welding. Was that something that you sought, or did you kind of just fall into it? Like, were you like,
Um,
I want to do the hardest stuff, the coolest stuff, or like, how did that happen? That doesn't happen to everybody.
yeah, no, I just actually never wanted to be a TIG welder. I thought, because I was this again, this was a different time
Hmm.
in people's eyes. So I thought, if I'm gonna be a woman welder, I need to be the most rugged, tough type of welder. And what kind of welding is that when we think? We think
Stick.
stick welders, right?
Hmm.
We think pipeliners, we think
Hmm.
iron workers. So that's what I was gonna do, and I got really good at it. Now and then I was doing it for a while. I was working for I was doing pressure vessels and like big hydraulics, like massive, these giant cranes coming in, hydraulics and recapping and then repressurizing them and stuff. And like the boss was just such a like I just couldn't stand working for him anymore.
Hmm.
And it was just like constant overtime and like very thankless work. And it was a small like size shop. It was like me and two other guys. And like it was just a revolving door of people in there too. So like there was something to it. Like this guy just
Yeah,
sucked.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and he'd like come around eating his sloppy pizza in your face and stuff, and just like, ugh, like get away from me.
It sounds
So,
like a cartoon character now.
he literally was like, yeah. You ever watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force Carl? Like that was my boss at this time. Like just gross. so, um, so yeah, I just wanted to change. So I had asked my former welding instructor, and I was like, hey, of anybody else like hiring? And he's like, yeah, you can go down to this yacht company place where they do all these like the cheapest boat I think I worked on was like $2.3 million or something crazy like
Jeez.
that. So I mean, like if you take like a pencil point or like a pen and just put a dot on a piece of paper, if that was on like the pad for the anodized, cut it off, do it again. Garbage. And these something like
Hmm.
a length of anodized pipe at the time, I don't even know what these lengths go for anymore, but they were like $200 for just like one piece of Schedule 40 anodized aluminum, like $200.
Hmm.
And they're just like cut it off. Another one. I'm like, okay, like crazy stuff. I mean, and then there would be stuff like they would get nicked or scuffed or just little things that they
Hmm.
would come over and inspect and make you like just redo it. So it's a very different style of welding anodized also. So um yeah, I ended up getting so good at it that and so fast and proficient that I had like this whole like I was building all the like the parts that bow rails, hardtop sky bridges and stuff for these yachts faster than they were even like done on paper basically.
Hmm.
And like they would ended up having I had like these guys that would work for me and they would basically they used to do the welding and stuff and then they almost got like demoted when
You
I
just tack
was
just
doing
tack it
it
together and get out of
because
the
they would
way.
just
Yeah.
they would cut it and roll it and like get it all laid out for me and then I would just build it all and like I was
Mhm.
just so fast and they would like get mad at me. They'd be like, you're making us look bad, you gotta stop, you gotta slow down, this and that. It's like, oh, sorry, but I really enjoyed it though. I don't know, and then it became like not like that challenging, I guess, and it got kind of like
Yeah, things have a
monotonous.
time limit. Things tend
Yeah,
to have a time limit.
yeah,
It depends on your personality. I joke all the time that I have like a 5 to 7 year limit for a job.
yeah,
Like, I really love the first 3, 4 years of a job. Then 5, 7, I start thinking about leaving, and I tend to start looking at other opportunities. And
yeah,
other opportunities do come around. If you're good, they come around.
yeah,
And But I don't know if that's a good thing as I get older now, because like now I got a pretty fly job, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, do I really want to leave this one in 5 years? Well, maybe. Like I've only been at the CWB for 1 year, like 2 weeks ago, and it's like,
Well,
well, is
congratulations.
the
Happy anniversary.
yeah, thank you. It's like, has the countdown started? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think sometimes when you find that thing where like all of the hard work and all of your passion just kind of like comes to a head, um, I think that's kind of maybe where I'm at in my career over the last couple of years, you know. So when I
mhm,
left doing like the pipe work and stuff, like I said, I kind of like fell into the teaching side of stuff. My daughter was small. I needed to do something that I could, maybe not be working so many crazy hours and stuff. And
mhm.
um, my old welding instructor called me up and he's like, "Hey, you want to come in and like teach all the TIG stuff here?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not a teacher. It doesn't matter. Your experience, fine." Okay. So I go there, I'm like working a, teacher's aide or whatever, doing all the TIG instruction stuff. And I like fell in love with teaching. So I went and I was like, all right, maybe I'll just be a teacher. But I was
Yeah.
like, like, there's no way they're gonna hire me as a welding instructor anywhere. It's just not possible.
Mhm.
I kind of thought it wasn't even gonna happen, so why bother? So I just went to college. I kept working as a welder, was teaching, doing the TIG stuff, ended up going back to the yacht company that I was doing all the anodized work for. And kept, going through college and everything, got my degree in education, and actually was gonna take a job teaching middle school history, and ended up turning it down. And I was bartending too at the time, so I work during the day at like fab shops and stuff, and then at night I would bartend on the Jersey Shore. Same bar Snooki got punched in the face at. That's where I worked. But go.
And Snooki's Chilean, just so everyone knows. So I have
Yeah.
a, you know, she's
Officially,
adopted in
like,
she, the seventh degree of
yeah,
connection there. Yeah.
I'll
All
tell
right.
her
Well,
you said hi.
this is a perfect time to take a break as when we get into like the modern Stephanie story of where teaching went to, and then kind of how things developed from there. So for everyone that's been tuning in, this has been a great conversation. Make sure you don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the CWB Association podcast. And we're back on the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron. Thanks for tuning in with us. Today we have Stephanie Hoffman, who's been telling us about her great story. We kind of ran through like where she came from, the music love, the getting into welding, into the yachts, into the stuff, and we were just starting to touch on the education part of your story. Now,
Yeah.
I have a question to ask you as an ignorant Canadian because I don't know how the American systems work. In
Mhm.
Canada, you have to have a red seal endorsement in order to teach a trade. So I can't teach a trade until I've gotten my red seal journey person. So
Mhm.
I know that journey persons are a lot harder to get in the US because you have to get them through either a union or a different,
Yeah.
like you can't
Union.
just go through an apprenticeship because we have like a national apprenticeship body in Canada,
Mhm.
right? So what does it take, or how do you get into teaching as a welder? Like let's say someone's listening and they're like a really good welder, they're mid to
Yeah.
late 20s. What's the road? How did you do it? How did you figure out what's that path?
Yeah. So for public education, so I worked in a vocational school. So when I got my degree in education, I ended up getting hired at the Salem County Vo-Tech, and I actually became one of the first female-led welding instructing programs for a vocational program in the state of New Jersey. So I'm sure there's other, chicks that are running programs, but I had no male counterpart. It was just me solo. I had 42 students a day. And so for me, it was a little different because I went to school and had a degree in education. So you get a thing called advanced standing in the public education system, which you're paid on a salaried step guide. So
Hmm.
based on your experience and then your education level, that'll find the different step guides and where you place on the step guide. And that's your salary step guide. So, and every school is different how they do it. So I went in, at whatever tier. I didn't start at the bottom because I had a lot of experience.
Hmm.
Now, if you have most welders do not welding instructors, I would say less than 5% probably have degrees in education.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be a little bit higher than 5%, but it's very, very few in the United States. How they do it, a lot of them, it's experience. So you have to have so many years of documented experience in order to become a welding instructor. It varies from state to state. In the state of New Jersey, you have to have, I think it's 8 years verified employment as a welder in order to go through the alternate route program to be
Hmm.
a public to work for a public school system as a welding instructor. Now, private school, it's very different. If you work for a private educational institution, not state funded or government funded, a lot different. You could just be, have 1 year experience, just be super, super skilled, and then you just go and become a welding instructor, and that school pays you. But in the private, not in the private, in the public sector, um, it's for New Jersey, it's 8 years, and then you go
Mm-hmm.
through an alternate route program, and then you have to pay for it yourself too. You have to pay to go to the college classes. You don't get a degree, but you get a certificate, and it's like 2 years, I think it is, that you go to like a night school college to become a vocational educator, but you don't get a degree in anything.
So
So there's
what
a couple of
about
different ways.
the welding theory? When do you get that? Because like you have to know a lot of welding theory to be a good welding instructor. Or at least I
Yeah,
I mean I think that, but
yeah,
that's yeah.
yeah.
So where do you pick that
Um,
up? You know?
you don't. Either you're working with other instructors, yeah. So you either have to go to college to be like a welding engineer, or
Mm-hmm.
now they have like when I went to college, there's no school in New Jersey, university level college that has like an applied science degree in welding.
Mm-hmm.
Now a lot more colleges are offering those programs, so it's a little bit different. Um, but yeah, when I became a welding instructor, it was here are the keys. When I stay, here's your roster, figure it out. Though those are the textbooks over there. So it was
Yeah.
just, a lot of it was stuff that you should,
Figure it
in my
out.
opinion, should already
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Basic code. I mean, you're teaching basic level welding at a high school level. So, a lot of D11. You're not getting into too much like API and crazy,
Mm-hmm.
D17.1, crane crap. And like, you're not really
Mm-hmm.
doing like all these crazy codes. So for me, I just kind of focused on, the
Welding
basic
skill.
structural stuff, you weld joints, fitting it, and then you got your textbook and you just kind of, that becomes your best friend and just resources. So I got involved with the biggest thing for an educator that doesn't have any educational background is getting involved with, the CWB maybe in Canada, AWS here in the United States, and going to those industry,
Mm-hmm.
meetings, and then getting involved with some of the different programs that are out there. So for me, I met like tons of my friends. Like I have welding instructor friends all over the country. Jay Becker being one of them. We met when we went to the American Welding Society Instructors Institute, and it's a week long program they put on free of charge. They pay all expenses paid down in Miami at the headquarters, and it's each district gets to bring a representative in the educational industry in the educational field of welding and send them there to learn and kind of collaborate with all different welding instructors. A lot of other places, Miller puts on a program, like Electric puts on a program.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of resources out there. It's just as an educator, you have to go and put the effort in and figure it out, or else you're going to be a really welding instructor. So,
Yeah, that's true. And we've
unfortunately,
all
it's not very regulated.
yeah,
So
and we've all had welding instructors or
yeah,
come across welding instructors, and you don't sometimes even know it if you're in it because you're just a kid or you might be young, but then when you get older and I became a teacher and then I started seeing other welding instructors just out there, and I was like, some are just dialing it in, like
yeah,
they're not really into it, and you
yeah,
can tell by their students because their students are struggling finding work, and and it's like, well, you gotta like I feel like I'm letting my students down if I'm not giving them like they're
yeah.
trusting me to make them
Oh yeah.
good, like
Oh, when I first started as an instructor, parents would be calling me like upset that their student only got 1 year with me because the instructor before he was like in his 70s, he was waiting for his pension and to
mhm,
be on his they're just collecting a paycheck sometimes. And
mhm.
when I got there, I was cold calling businesses, being like, "Hey, are you guys looking for welders? How can
Yeah,
I train
yeah.
my students to be what you guys need? Can you come in?
Exactly.
Can you see
Yeah.
my program? Can you donate materials? Can you help us
Mhm.
out?" Like, like it was a full-time job in itself just to
Oh,
get
yeah.
acquainted with the community there because I was also commuting 2 hours each way. It was like 94 miles each way to go to that school every day. And
Oh,
yeah,
gee.
I really, really love teaching. But I cried my first paycheck. I got my first paycheck as a welding instructor. Like I'm leaving the parking lot and I'm on the phone with my mom, like, I don't know what I did. This is the worst thing ever. Like,
That's when you open up the
she's like,
side hustle because you got the summers off, so
I kept bartending. Like, I would make
yeah.
more bartending in a summer on Jersey Shore than I would, like, in half of the year as a teacher. So, I mean, as a welding instructor, I mean, I'm not ashamed of how much I made. I only was making like $68,000 a year as a welding instructor in New Jersey, which is like, for a
L-
teacher, that might be like pretty decent in the United
but not
States,
good for a welder.
but not good for a welder, not good for somebody who's used to making, like six figures, like
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
good living. So I had no choice. I had to keep bartending. And then in the
Mm-hmm.
summer times, I would start an adult ed program, or I was working at a fab shop. Like, I was doing everything I could. So I loved teaching so much. And I thought this was going to be this great thing as a single mom, raising my daughter. I was going to have, holidays and weekends and summers off. And nope, none of that. Did not
Uh,
happen.
I was in the
And,
same boat. Although
yeah,
I was lucky here in Canada, like at least the college I was in, I have university, I have 2 red seals and a blue seal. So I mean, just like you said, we have a grid system here too for teaching. So it's
yeah,
like you get paid blah 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 on the scale. So actually I came in at a pretty good wage and close to 6 figures as a teacher. So it
yeah,
wasn't that much of a dip for me. But it was I totally underestimated the amount of work that goes in. I would be like, "Wow, teaching's only from 8 till 3:30. Summers
yeah,
off, weekends off." It's like, "No, you're on the
no,
phone, you're trying to find material, you're calling companies in the summer, you're teaching summer classes like
yeah,
and it's for the love. You don't really get paid more for any of that
yeah,
stuff, right?"
yeah, no. I mean, hold on, I gotta plug my phone in.
Oh, you're about to die on me here?
Yeah, hold on. Sorry.
No, all good, all good.
Okay, I think I'm
There we
good.
go.
Okay. Um,
So you
but yeah,
said you fell into teaching by accident though. So how did that happen? Like someone just called you up and say, "Hey, like we're down bad, like come on in," or
yeah, well, that's pretty much what happened. My welding instructor called me. I had my daughter. She was like a newborn, and he's like, "Hey, listen, like, would you be interested in coming here and doing the TIG stuff?" So I did it. Ended up going to get my degree because I thought
Mhm.
I just love teaching so much, but I just never thought I would be like, I didn't think anybody would hire me to be a welding instructor.
Mhm.
So I thought, that I'm not the mold of what they were, most, when you think welding instructor, you don't expect to come into your class and find me being your teacher. So, but I loved it so much. And I I never regretted any single day, or and even the hard days. And I still talk to a lot of my students, and they're like my
Mhm.
babies still.
Oh, for sure.
I'm friends with their parents, like,
I would call them my
and
little chickadees because I love
oh
birds.
yeah,
We would build bird feed. I have like a bird haven in my backyard, so I
yeah,
would always call them my chickadees. Which at first, if they didn't know me, it was weird. But once they got to know me, it's like, oh yeah, he loves his goddamn birds. Like,
yeah. I mean, those kids are my babies, and it's
hmm
I'm just so happy to see them be successful. And and I was always supportive, whether they wanted to be welders, or they wanted to go into the military, or they wanted to go and they wanted to be a diesel mechanic now, or they just wanted to be a chef, or it was just whatever it was. It was just like, okay, let's figure out a way to make that happen for you.
hmm
So I became very invested in all of their futures. And then AWS called me out of nowhere, and because I was going to all these AWS events, and
hmm
they
hmm
saw my passion for education, and kind of inspiring the next generation, because I'm a big believer in, like, you can't just expect students to want to weld if all you're going to do is teach them how to do T joints and grooved welds day in and day out. Like, that's okay for a little while, but you have to, like, have more collaboration in there, because in the real world, life is not just sitting in a booth by yourself, just doing these little, like, 8-inch passes all day long. Like,
Yeah, there's got to
odds
be some
are
hype there.
you're gonna collaborate with other people. You need to know problem solving skills. You need to know how to communicate with others. So it's like trying to, get out there and share that with other people. And I learned that in, going to school for education, and the importance of collaborative learning and stuff like that. And, just the social aspect of what it
Hmm
is to make somebody, successful, and confidence, and, just, all of it, as a welding instructor, that has to come into play. And I guess AWS was listening, and all my rants, and my rants of how AWS needed to become more relevant with the welding community, and how, most people are intimidated by AWS and think that they're just they're just
Police.
and yeah, like, they're just
Hmm
like the big, like, Supreme Court of the welding industry. And
hmm
it's not inviting for most welders. But I was seeing a different side of it, because I was getting very involved, and then meeting people at headquarters and stuff. And out of nowhere, I was actually um about to take a job working for a nuclear containment company, and they wanted me to do, because I was supplying them with such skilled, employees, that they were like, "What are you
Hmm.
doing? We want to hire you." And they were going to pay me, the money that I was used to making in the industry, and I was really considering it. And then, I'm, now married, and my husband's like, "Is that really going to make you happy? Like leaving education to go work in the nuclear stuff?" And I thought about it and I turned it down. And
Hmm.
I was like kicking myself. I'm like, what did I just do? I just turned down a killer job for this like job that does not pay like super well, you know. And it was just more about being happy at that point, I guess, and I guess it was all for the right reasons, because it wasn't 2 weeks later that I got an email from somebody at AWS asking for me to come and basically be their spokesperson, so to speak, and travel the
Hmm.
country for them, promoting careers in welding. So that was
So
pretty
is
awesome.
the AWS gig for you a full-time gig, or how does it work? Because you got like about, I would say from the outside, I see about 4 jobs that you do,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
So for the last 3 years, it was a full time job. My title was program manager of workforce development, and I helped with all of the grant funding for our different grant programs when I wasn't touring, and then I was touring about 18 weeks a year. So I was planning the logistics of the tour and then also doing the tour.
hmm
So it was a lot. And then this year, at the end of the year, I approached AWS as things were expanding for me with the Netflix show. My business was just exploding because I started my business when I was a welding educator to make
hmm
extra side
extra
money.
money, yeah.
And I had all this free labor too.
Hmm.
So I had all
Hmm.
these kids doing half the work.
That's smart. It's smart.
Yeah, you know, real life skills I was teaching them. So, uh, I approached them and said, would you, how, I would still love to do the tour, but the full time, 9 to 5 thing, I just can't do it anymore. So, and they were very, very happy to have me still stay on board. So, as of now, I'm just a paid spokesperson. So I have
Hmm.
I'm just contracted employee with them. Whenever they need me to do video content, the tour. So now they plan the logistics of the tour and just tell me where to go.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm still going to be doing all that stuff for them. I mean, I'm still a big supporter of the organization. I love the organization. I did not want
Hmm.
to leave. So I was really, really happy to hear that they didn't want to let me go either. So now, yeah, so still doing the stuff for the AWS videos. Like next week, I'm actually going to Ohio for them, and we're filming more of a new series that we have coming out. It'll be released for National Welding Month. So still keeping busy with them, but my business is just the fabrication business is exploding. And then I thought this is a great time to start a welding school. So, I love
So
teaching
are
and I
you
want to go
still
back to it.
are you still teaching then at the college, or is that over now?
No, no. So I haven't been teaching since I started with AWS. I left
Okay.
teaching
Okay.
because I was working for them full time, and then I was still running my fabrication business. And then
Hmm.
during all that, then Netflix, came calling, and then I went and filmed with Netflix, and then yeah. So now I've left full time with AWS, now focusing on my own brand and my own business. So expanding the fabrication company, and then also now building a full blown welding school. So
So let's talk about that. So you got Underground Metalworks, I believe is what it's called, right?
yeah,
Now, is
yeah,
that the name of the company and the school? Is it all like
yeah.
under one
It's just all
umbrella?
under one thing. Yeah, I'm not that smart to figure it out and make it.
So for people that want a high quality education, you heard it here
Yeah.
first. So like how do you go about doing that? Like I mean, I'm very intrigued. Like I still got my company that I started 20 years ago. I've had it ebb and flow. I've had it be big with staff in a big building,
Yeah.
and then when I went to go teach, I shut it all down and just went back to my garage. And it's kind of come and gone in different formats, but I've always had it because number one, I got some clients that I've had for forever that I'm never going to
Yeah.
leave hanging because they trust me to do their stuff and I do it for them.
Absolutely.
But now, like you're talking about starting a school, that's that's a lot of work, man. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
what are you doing for curriculum? How do you break up classes? What are the skills you're teaching? How are you basing your classes? Like, I mean, how did you start formulating this plan? And this is like before you even look at a building and
Mhm.
outfitting it, which has got to
Yeah.
be a whole nother, like
Yeah.
that's a big investment,
Expensive.
man. Yeah, like, jeez.
I'm very poor.
Yeah, you're gonna be poor for a few years, man. Like that's just the way it's gonna be. But that's fine because you know what? Nothing that's good is easy, right?
Yeah,
So.
I mean, thankfully, I been very fortunate in my life. So I've,
Hmm.
just been planning, I guess. And yeah, I wanted to get back to teaching very, very badly, and I
Hmm.
thought, maybe if I had more time to focus on it, and if AWS would still be, supporting that endeavor, and and just having good network with people in the community, and then just having that encouragement from people has been, I guess, the biggest thing to get me started and get me moving in the right direction. Like people like Ray Ripple, and she's super supportive.
Hmm.
um, Joel from Overkill, I don't know
Hmm.
if you know Joel, but he's been super supportive. My husband's super supportive. My sisters are super supportive. Just having those people, that's like the first step. Like, you can't
Hmm.
get anywhere in life without a good support system. David Madero, like,
Hmm.
these people are the ones that are like my, biggest
The
cheerleaders. And
cheerleaders, yeah.
yeah, and you need that. It's scary to go and do something so drastic. so yeah, so the business was doing really well, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to get back into what I really, really love doing. I wasn't doing it for the money.
Hmm.
Now maybe I might be doing it for
Well, I mean, you got to make ends
I mean,
meet,
it's a
right?
business, right? So
Yeah.
um so
So who's
my
running
school's
the
gonna be a
shop
lot.
now? Like who's running the shop now? Like if you're going to be tied up with education and teaching and bringing students in, like I mean, there's advertising involved. There's all this stuff that you got to do.
Yeah, so I have
Are
other
you
people that do a lot of
okay?
stuff for me. uh,
You have a good
I'm
floor
not a one woman
manager and
show. I'm not.
yeah.
I can't say that I'm a one woman show, because I'm not. Far from
Hmm.
it. So yeah, I have people that help. I have other instructors that I'm hoping to be bringing in. Um, the Some of the fab work is probably going to become more subcontracted out to, it'll come through, do the typical thing a
Hmm.
lot of contractors do.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how that's going to work as we expand, hiring more people. That's
Yeah.
basically it. Hopefully with having a school, I'll be able to farm my own employees pretty easily.
Just poach all the best students.
So
So
yeah,
how
it's
many
quite rapid.
students how many students will your class or your school be able to run at a time? Like how
Yeah.
many booths you got?
Yeah, so right now I'm keeping it small. I want it to be very personalized, very personal experience. So my a friend of mine, Jesse James, he was telling me how, like, if I do this to make it an experience for people, and I took what his advice was and like really took it to heart. And I came home talking to my husband, and I was like, I don't want this to be, a typical school. Like, I'm getting advice from literally everybody's idol in the welding world. Maybe not like uh on his personal life, people don't idolize Jesse James, but when it comes to his business sense of what he's created, like, how can you not take advice from him if he's willing to give it to you? And I came home, I'm like, he says that I should make it an experience. Now, what the hell does that mean? At
Hmm.
school. So I'm just thinking, okay, I have a pretty artistic mind, so I figured I'm just gonna put my own flavor on it and make it my own. So everything from crazy murals to, when you walk in the retail store, it's like beautiful tile and crown moldings and copper work, and nice furniture, and like very exclusive, like kind of like boutique welding store that I'm
Hmm.
putting together. It's not like you can't buy typical stuff there. Then you go into, the actual school part of it, and it's like glitter epoxy floors and crazy stamp steel tin tiles, and it's like, it doesn't make any sense why anybody would do this. Like, the bathroom has crazy freaking tile on it and glitter globe, like chandeliers. I mean, like, you go in there and it's like an experience. Like, you're not going to
Hmm.
get that experience going to any other welding school. And then to top it off, it's only 5 people per class.
Okay.
So it's not like, I want to be able to, if you come in there and you're taking my, 40-hour class from start to finish, I want to be able to tailor everything to what your needs are, what your goals are. It's very hard to do that as a welding instructor, and that's what I learned. When you have 20 plus, anywhere from 15 to 20 students, one person, you even two instructors, it's hard to
Hmm.
focus on everybody, give everybody the attention that sometimes they need and the guidance that they need, and be able to build those relationships. And if I was going to do it, I didn't want to do it and feel like people were coming to my program and not getting what they were paying for. So it's buildable training. So none of the training, it's for people that, they come in. If they don't know if they want to be welders, they can take a weekend class, they can take a night class, they can take a 40-hour class, they can take an 8-hour class. Like, I have it broken up all different ways, and then it's buildable. So you take,
Mhm.
basic class and you go, that was awesome, I like that, but now I want to learn like an advanced process within that, because this is now my goal. So
Mhm.
now, okay, I have that, so that people don't have to almost waste time and money on a program that is literally one size fits all, and that's not, in my mind, that's not going to make quality welders. It's when you're basically running 20, 30 students a day, like, people are going to fall through the cracks. People aren't
Yeah.
going to know, hey, wait a
Mhm.
minute, I know you want to be a pipe welder, but skill set's just not there. Let's focus on this. This makes great
Mhm.
money too. Or, this industry that you're trying to get into, this is the skills it's going to require. When you have 20 students or more, you can't do that. It's physically impossible. I don't care what they're trying to sell you at these schools. When you're paying $20,000, $30,000 to go to school, and there's one or two instructors per 20 plus students, you are not going to get the education that you think you're being sold. So
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that my school wasn't going to be that spot for people. And there's nothing like, I support these schools. Like, I go to a lot of different welding schools across the country, and what they do is freaking fantastic. But for me personally, that's not my style. That's not how I operate. I'm way too
Well,
much a perfectionist to knowingly take people's money and let them leave my program with only half the skills they need to
mhm.
succeed.
And
So
it's simple logistics. Like, if you think about it, I remember I had this discussion with a trade board here in Canada. It's like, okay, you want to give me 14 students, 14 divided by 60 minutes. I got less than 5 minutes a student
yeah.
per hour. So so we had a limit of 12 students that we were trying to stick to, and they're like, well, let's bump that up to 15. Can we get, like, they're trying to just cram as many
Oh, yeah,
students in as,
they don't
right?
care. To them, it's
Because
just
that's
about
just money, right?
what they're making. Like, I can
So
make a lot more money if I had 10 booths in my program,
for
you
sure,
know?
for sure. But then the amount of time you can spend with each student just gets drastically cut down.
Mhm.
So I'm at this meeting and I'm trying to explain to them, like, okay, you want to give me 14 students. That's less than 5 minutes an hour each student gets with me. And if one student has a problem, like a real problem, like the liner gets jammed or something, and I got to spend a half an hour with a student, that means that for the rest of the day, half
They're
the
on their own.
students, they're on their own. They're screwed. Like, they're just not going to get time. Just shut up, get in your booth and burn wire or burn rod or
Yep.
whatever it is I'm getting you to do. And that's unfortunate, but it is a business and it's tough, especially government funded, US or Canada.
Oh,
They
yeah.
don't get a
It's
lot
all
of
about
money,
job
man.
placement rates. It's all
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
numbers. And, being a private facility, I can make this school whatever I want. And, like, the fact that I'm able to make it whatever I want is like, I need to take this opportunity to really capitalize on that and
Run with
offer
it.
people something that they can't get anywhere else. There's no other welding school you're going to go to that you're going to be able to get the level of instruction that I'm going to be able to give to somebody, with only 5 students in it at the price point that I'm offering. I mean, I want to keep it fair and affordable to everybody. I want people to want to experience welding. I don't want people to think that, oh, well, it's too expensive for me, I can't go. So I have
Mm.
an 8-hour class, a 4-hour workshop. Like, I have something that's going to fit everybody's needs. So I'm just really, really excited to kind of open that up to everybody and let them, see what the welding community has to offer. So
So will students or yourself be able to access funding? Because there's a lot of funding from industry, government, AWS for schools and training programs. Is will you be able to get on that train? Will students perhaps be able to get some funding to go to your school? Or, I mean,
yeah,
I know you're really early on in the journey, and I don't know if
yeah.
that's been figured out yet, but that's a question I think people will ask, right?
Oh, yeah. So right now, the price point of what I'm offering, I don't have. There's only one class, and it's an advanced type class. It's for like
Mm.
tube bending and like crate. It's a very niche thing, and that class is $1,200. But every other class that I'm offering is $800 or less.
Oh, that's cheap, yeah.
So no, I wouldn't. Right now, there's no funding, and the reason why too my programs aren't going to be a million weeks long with a million hours is because I don't have. It's not fair to me, and it's not fair to them because my schedule just doesn't allow for that. So,
Hmm.
if you want to get quality education from myself, well, this is what I'm offering right
This is what you
now.
have, yeah.
Yeah, so it's has to be a little bit more easily managed. But yeah, probably in the next 2 years, I look to go and get an accreditation. We are going to be becoming a accredited testing facility through the American Welding Society. We'll be an educational institutional member. Those things, you'll be able to come to my school and get certified. So again, you don't have to take these 8-month-long programs to get your D11 cert. Like, you can come take a week-long class, and then you want to take the advanced class, you do another 40-hour class, and you just keep building on it. When you're ready to take it, people learn at different rates too. So again, I don't want people to waste their time or waste their money. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to I guess kind of change the look of what welding education has to look like and what it's looked like for so long. So
Yeah, and that was going to be one of my questions, like if you're going to go down the accreditation train, because that is something that people will ask. Will be like, well, can I
yeah,
get tickets and certs through you in order to
yeah,
be able to get work? And
yeah,
it's good,
yeah.
and that is.
Certifications,
Mhm.
yeah, certifications will be there. I'm going to be doing hopefully partnering up with a company right now that I'll be doing actual specialized training for their specific products. So when people buy their equipment, they'll be coming to me for their training and stuff like that. So
Nice.
I want to actually start getting into like doing a lot more corporate, company style
Mhm.
training too. But yeah, certifications will be offered right off the rip for anybody who's willing to go that route.
Mhm.
But it's not forced upon anybody either. So I
Yeah,
mean, if you want to take the time to take the test, you know, I got the time.
that's on you. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
and D one's
um,
easy to pass. So
yeah, because not everybody wants, like, that's the biggest thing for me. It's like everybody doesn't want to go to a program that they have to commit 6 months to learn how to weld because they want to be a home hobbyist, or they want to get into art, or they want to get into this. Like, everybody, some people are just
Mhm.
trying to work on their trucks and their cars, and like, so I want to make welding education accessible to all different types of,
Mhm.
interest levels. So that's kind of what I'm gearing towards. I have a lot of connections with industry. So, job placement and being able to personalize the training to the types of careers that these people are looking for is super important to me. So I'm excited for it. We open February 15th. So
Oh
hopefully,
man, that's right away.
yeah, and already got a couple of classes are already pretty much sold out and filling up,
Awesome.
and yeah, so people are definitely interested. I mean, we don't have in New Jersey where I'm at the only welding school they have. There's one, the pipe welding school. It's down in like South Jersey, and it's again very very expensive. And then they have a couple of the vocational schools across the state. In the county
Mhm.
level, they have their night school programs for adult ed. Um, and then that's pretty much it
That's it,
in
eh?
the state. So there is nothing else. You'd have to, I don't know. I think like the other nearest one would be Allentown, Pennsylvania, but it doesn't, it's again, very long-term training. There's no like workshops. There's
Just
no
come
like,
across the water to Canada. We got lots of schools.
yeah. So Rochester, New York it's about 7 hours from me,
Mhm.
Arc and Flame Center. I'm kind of, Mike Krupnicki is a friend of mine, and his school is probably the closest thing to what I'm offering. So, and
Mhm.
that's 6 hours away from me. So,
Okay, well, we're coming on to the end of the interview here. Just time wise. So I got a couple questions that are maybe a little bit different, just to talk about something else. So first of all,
yeah.
I gotta ask, when are you hitting the pro circuit for golf?
Well, I don't know. I'm actually gonna
You,
hopefully get into my. So I've never played a tournament before. I am
mm-hmm.
a like a golf nut. I love it. I'm actually wearing my Olsen putter. You gotta check him out. Shout out to Olsen. um, but yeah, Logan, he's awesome. Logan Olsen. He's an incredible putter maker. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, check him out. He does incredible metal work. It's like stupid what this guy creates, and the different types of metal and different like Damascus he uses. And it's just unreal. So I'm actually going to be going out to his shop in California, and I mean, some of his putters they start at like over $4,000 a putter just for
I've
like
seen some of the pictures. They're nuts. They're like
incredible.
braided
Oh,
steel and like,
it's
yeah.
just like mind blowing that like, and
Mhm.
again, that's another like facet of the welding industry that people like don't even think about. And I'm gonna hopefully get into that. So, but yeah, I love golf. It's just an outlet for me. I think
Mm-hmm.
like in my welding career, I feel like every challenge I've kind of conquered it. And once you kind of I work for the AW, I'm the face of the American Welding Society. I have a Netflix show. I'm opening a school.
Mhm.
I own a fabrication company. It's like, what really is left at this point?
Mhm.
What's really going to challenge me? I'm not somebody who likes to just kind of like sit around and just let the grass grow. I want to like be out there and doing something and learning something and challenging myself. And golf happens to be that challenge these days. So
Yeah, and have you been up to Canada to golf at all? Have you ever even been
no,
to
no.
Canada? Like
I've never even been to Canada.
it's like
I've been to
literally
like
out your window. It's like right there. Like
I know I've been to like the border. I've been to like Escanaba and Detroit and stuff like that, but I've never like gone over the bridge. maybe this summer we can put together like a cool. I'm like I keep like advocating for this really cool like welding golf tournament for like for some type of fundraiser, whether it's like a
Mhm.
St. Jude or just something to put together some type of really cool thing. But yeah, I love golf.
So I go camping like crazy, and I go up to northern Saskatchewan, where the province I live in, when there's beautiful campground, golf courses, PGA certified golf course. It's
Yeah,
beautiful up there. I've been talking to Ivan, I talked to Fred, I talked to Lou, and I said, because they're all like, we love camping, we love traveling. It's like, you guys all got to come up to Canada. I'll take everybody out camping. We'll go fishing. We'll go,
yeah.
we'll play guitars. You know, we'll do everything. And everyone said that they're down if I just give them a date and time. So I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to add you to the list. You're gonna have to fly up with your golf clubs because none of them golf, I don't think, but I golf, and
Yeah.
and then we can hit up
I
the
take
golf
my golf
courses.
clubs like everywhere with me, so I
Yeah,
have no problem. So yeah,
but you got
when
to
I
get your
tour,
passport.
I have one. We're good.
Good.
We're
Yeah,
good.
right
Yeah.
on.
Like
Yeah.
when I tour, I drag those damn things all over the place, and then I get mad when I get somewhere and then I don't even end up golfing because then I just drag them around for nothing. But
And
but yeah,
that was gonna be my final question for you. Like, I mean, as you know, ambassador for AWS, like right now I'm working with AWS on FabTech Canada. We have it nailed down June 14th to 16th in Toronto, and we're doing a CanWeld / FabTech. So CanWeld is our Canadian FabTech. It's the biggest conference of the year. We host it. It's under my portfolio, so it's like one of my huge commitments for the year. And we're teaming up with FabTech, so we're doing like a combined FabTech CanWeld. And I was gonna like, are you guys gonna be coming up for any of that? Are you like, is that even on your radar? Has anyone talked to you about
nobody's ever
June?
told me about it.
Well, geez,
They probably, I mean,
if I invite you, are you gonna come?
if
We're
you
doing a
invite me, I'll come. Yeah,
we're doing a few like cool panels and stuff, and we've been talking about who we want to bring
yeah.
up to do some of our panel talks or
I will be
discussions.
there. If you tell me the dates ahead of time, make sure I can get the okay from AWS, make sure there's no tour. I mean, if there's tour stuff going on, we could just find a replacement for me. So, I mean, I would love to be there. Absolutely.
Okay, well,
As long as I
this
can
is
come in a day early, we can do some golfing.
yeah, this is well in June. It should be warm enough for some golfing. And I don't know much of the golf area in Ontario because I don't live there where the head office is. But everyone's been bragging about how it's the best golfing in Canada, which I don't know if it's true or not. But
Yeah.
maybe we should find out.
Yeah, we're gonna have to find out. Yeah, I'm actually me and my brother. I'm actually going to go play Augusta National here in a
Oh,
couple of months.
that'll be
Yeah,
so fun.
yeah. So I get to go play there, and I get to go check out the Masters this year. So I'm like super excited. I mean, if you're into golf, I mean, that's like
Hmm.
kind of a big deal. But for most people, are like, I don't know what the hell that means. But yeah, I'm actually so like being a veteran and stuff. I want to get into the VGA. It's the Veteran Golf Association, and
Hmm.
me and my brother hopefully are going to be playing some tournaments this spring. And gotta, I'm gonna do my first tournament, so I'm gonna like hopefully not suck, but
Yeah. Well,
according to my golf coach, I don't suck. So
Isn't Tiva going on right now down in Houston in Texas? I thought Tiva was this week. I thought you'd be down there, like
no,
some big conference. No,
yeah,
because I know they
no,
sent me a
not
thing, and
me.
I was like, we're not going like just coronavirus wise. We're just like, we're kind of
Yeah,
kiboshed everything for
no.
now.
No, the only thing I got coming up next week is filming for AWS, and then the week
Hmm.
after I got to go to a welding competition, and then my school opens. So
Hmm.
yeah,
All
we'll
right.
see.
Well, Stephanie, it's been awesome having you on the show. It's been super fun conversation. I hope this
Thanks.
wasn't a generic interview like you've had before. I hope this is different. Anyways.
No, this was awesome.
Okay,
It was a lot
good.
of fun.
and I'm and I'm sure we're gonna work again. Like, I mean, I'll be back in Atlanta for FabTech US. I don't know if you're gonna be there or not, but
Of
probably.
course.
Um,
Yep.
so I'll be back down there for that for sure. I know that we got the National Steel Construction Conference in Denver in March. I'll be there.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know what your schedules are, but in any case, I'll find out from my contacts. Probably, I think it's Matt at AWS. See what's going on and maybe we'll get you on the docket and bring you in, and maybe I'll
Yeah,
poach
I would
you and
love
I'll
that.
get you to come sit at the CWB table.
Yeah. I like that.
Awesome. Well, is there any shout outs you want to send out to anybody before we cut out?
No, just, thanks everybody in the industry that supported me, and
Mhm.
I appreciate it. It doesn't go unappreciated. I appreciate all the support and the support from you guys and everybody out there. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, everyone that's been tuning in, thanks a lot for making this show be as successful as it is. We're having tons of fun and, having the life stories of all sorts of people. Yesterday we had a student. Today we got Stephanie Hoffman. That's the point of the show, is just, trying to give the whole blanket of what's out there. And I really appreciate everyone that's been tuning in and downloading and sharing, and make sure you keep it up. And I will see you again in a week. So take care.
We hope you enjoyed the show.